Joining me now is Marshall Koval, the president and CEO of Lumina Gold. Good to see you again, Marshall.
Yeah, good to see you, Mark. Thanks for having us today.
Absolutely. Some big news we're going to get to, and you're going to get to in just a moment. But let's refresh everybody in case they're not that familiar with the Cangrejos project in Ecuador, 26th largest gold asset in the world, the largest in Ecuador. And your largest shareholder, Ross Beatty, says it really has no fatal flaw. So let's hear from you, your overview on the key attributes of this project.
Yeah, we've been working in Ecuador since 2014. And when we entered the country and acquired the Cangrejos project, it had no resource. And, as you mentioned, today it's the 26th largest resource in any sort of project in production, development, exploration. So that's been a pretty major accomplishment. And we just put out a pre-feasibility study that at current gold price, at sort of 1980 gold price, it had a $3.5 billion NPV at a 5% discount rate, using basically the gold and copper price that we have today.
Now, as mentioned, some big news this week from the company, a $300 million streaming arrangement with Wheaton Precious Metals. And you'll get into the nitty gritty of the deal in just a second. But I'm curious about the process. How long did it take? Were there a number of suitors? You're obviously not going to name any names, but I'm just curious about how the process all came about.
Yeah, once we felt that we were on the track for a pretty positive pre-feasibility study and the project would likely move to a feasibility study, we started looking at all forms of financing for both the feasibility study and early construction and trying to de-risk the project to the point where we could move it down the track to development and ultimately into production, whether it's ourselves moving it that way or somebody else coming in and taking over the project. I mean, the initial capital on the project for 30,000 tons per day is, about $1 billion. So, we're a junior developer. So we would look at all of our options. So as far as the process goes, we talked to several different groups about potential financing. We looked at streams, royalties. We looked at alternative financing. And we had several groups take a look at us, and we're really happy with the deal that we put together with Wheaton. And basically, Wheaton came in and started looking at us while we still had a PEA and pre-feasibility study work was underway. So the whole process took somewhere on the order of 8 months to move through it. And then ultimately, they saw the pre-feasibility study work as it was getting finished up here. And we were able to conclude the deal. And we're really happy to have Wheaton as a partner on this and look forward to working together, moving the project forward.
Marshall, one of the key features of this arrangement is a so-called early deposit of $48 million, which will get you through the feasibility study, permitting, and some construction as well. What are some of the key features that we should be aware of?
Yeah, I mean, basically, it's a stream up to 700,000 ounces of production, and it's 6.6% of the gold that's produced. It's a very attractive cost of capital scenario for the company. And then after we hit that 700,000 ounce plateau, it goes down to 4.4. And then also there's a buyback if there's a change of control along the way, a 1/3 buyback. So it's a really good situation. I think what it does is a couple things. It validates all the work that the company's been doing. It also is a vote of confidence in Ecuador moving forward. This is a large deal. There's Fruta del Norte and Mirador, which are mines that were built that were on the order of $1 billion plus or minus. And, we've secured this financing to advance Cangrejos. So it's a really good situation for the company.
Now, let's get to a key question here, which you are in an enviable position. I'm wondering, are you sort of running on two parallel tracks in terms of needing to raise about $750 million for CapEx for the project? And at the same time, on another track, Ross Beatty told us a couple of months ago at pre-PDAC that you're looking to sell the company this year. So is that kind of how you envision it, or is it a sort of a different scenario?
No, I think that's the right way to look at it. I mean, we're open. We're advancing the project. I've been with Ross since 2004 through a whole series of companies, and one of the things that we never do is fall in love so much that we blind ourselves to a good opportunity to move a project forward or to move it on to somebody that would take it on. So that's kind of the two tracks that you're talking about. We're moving down that way. But, there's a couple other critical aspects of being able to get this done. We're moving into the feasibility study stage. We're just wrapping up the PFS and doing the planning for the pre-feas. We're also working with the government of Ecuador to negotiate an investment protection agreement for exploitation, which gives us the royalty rate, the tax rate, import duties, exempt from import duties. So we're moving on that path. And this 48 million allows us to do that, allows us to look at some early works, land acquisition. So it sets us up that in a non-dilutive way going forward, that we can move towards production on the project.
As you know, there are a number of big mining companies operating in Ecuador. Does it make the most sense to ultimately team up with a company down there? Is that where do you think the most likely buyer comes from?
Most of the majors that are in Ecuador right now are in the copper space, and Cangrejos is sort of 80% gold by revenue, 20% copper. So I think there's a possibility maybe some of those companies look at it. But I think if you look into the gold space where companies are trying to diversify and put more copper in their portfolios, you've got the gold majors, the mid-tiers, and then obviously you've got outside companies, China and other parts of the world that could have an interest.
Again, back to our conversation with Ross Beatty a couple of months ago, he likened Lumina Gold and what you're doing there with the asset in terms of basically it's in a box, you're wrapping it up, you're putting a nice bow on it, and you're gussing it up for sale, so to speak. But on the other hand, is it a tricky market because junior gold miners are still deeply discounted right now, even though gold has been doing well? They're not getting a lot of love from the market. So is it a tricky market in which to sell, or the asset just speaks for itself and that doesn't really matter?
Well, I think the asset speaks for itself as far as size, scale, and it's a low cost. In the pre-feasibility study, it was about 671 AISC net of byproduct copper. But I think when you really look at where the market is headed, we're trading at a deep discount. We're trading at less than 0.2 PNAV ratio, and I think we're severely undervalued. And obviously every CEO out there is going to tell you, no matter what type of company they're running. But I think that discount makes the company potentially attractive to have some serious looks. And obviously, if we do get to a takeout scenario, we're gonna look to get the right value for the company.
And one last question, actually, as you say that, and this may be unfair, but is there a certain premium you'd be looking for in terms of where the stock is trading right now? Last I looked, it was around 52, maybe 52 cents.
Yeah, I'm not going to box myself in with that, but obviously, we know the type of value of the asset that we have, and we would look to benefit shareholders to the maximum extent possible. And I think we're patient here, and we've shown that as we've advanced the project, and we're continuing to move to the feasibility study stage now. So we're mindful of that. Myself, I have quite a bit of the company. I've got about 3.5%. Management and Ross, we've got I think somewhere around close to 30% of the company. So we're gonna watch that pretty carefully.
All right, said like a prudent CEO. Thanks a lot for the update. Exciting stuff on the deal, and we'll talk to you again, Marshall.
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate your listeners' time and your time as well.
Absolutely. Marshall Koval, President and CEO at Lumina Gold.